It says after that, the king asked, how can I help you? And he sends protection, army officers, and horsemen. There is a piece of guidance that is sending. Okay? My sending actually was a spitting out, I mean, there's no better way to say it, of the full-time ministry job I had back into education. Okay? That's what sent me to where I'm at right now. There's a sending to the process. Batch's sending happens when his bosses call him up and say, hey, you're headed to Peru, or you're headed to... There's a sending. Okay? Nehemiah 2:17, you know full well our disgrace. Let us rebuild the wall. There's a piece of a gathering to it. There's a building. Okay? Our church right now is in a building process. There's a gathering. There's this is what God is doing. Calling to a vision. There's a movement. There's a not just me part to the strategy. And then you're building something. In Nehemiah's case, you're building a wall. Mark's case, he's building a way to bring surfers to Jesus. Okay? Nehemiah 4:17 and 20. The common laborers carried on their work with one hand supporting their load and one hand holding a weapon. In some cases, as you're working, as you're in action, one hand is on the battle material and one hand is on the building material. When you're doing something that God really wants, that's really important, and God has a lot of things important to him, but there are certain things that move cities or nations, or in my case, little bitty elementary schools. And to the degree you're making an impact there, you're going to get opposition there. And when it's really thick, while you're building, you're fighting. One hand has the building material, the other hand has the weapon. Now, this is all assuming you're doing something that God wants. Sometimes when you're fighting against God, you might have two hands on the weapons as you're running away. That's the Jonah story. Okay, so there's an ebb and a flow to the whole story. Okay, but one thing that's sure, you will have opposition in guidance processes. Real opposition. Okay, real opposition. Sometimes that opposition could be internal. Things that are walls in your life that are in the way, right here. Sometimes that opposition is very much external. Criminals that are stealing the stuff you need to get the job done. But one way or another, there's going to be opposition. If you are making an impact to God, you look anywhere in any picture in the Bible of somebody actually following what God said. Jesus being maybe the crowning glory of that. There's opposition. And the opposition is thick. Okay, so I'm going to wind this up, but two pieces. Okay, two pieces that I would have each of you or each of us walk away with. The first one is probably the center of where we need to be at if we're actually aiming at moving in the destiny that God has for our lives. And that is where Nehemiah started. Listen to my prayer. Listen to my prayer. Now, sometimes you get so bogged down in what's happened that you can't even say those words or you don't even know where to direct those words. And sometimes we just forget because we work so hard, we get into the work mode of it, and we forget, hey, if we're stuck here on the opposition or on the job or on the building and we're not here, then we're missing we might get it done, we might not get it done, but we're missing the sending of the king. Okay. Second part is, here's what Nehemiah had to do. They worked from sunrise to sunset, and half of the men were always on guard. He couldn't work as fast as he wanted to work because the enemy was opposing him. But there was some hard work. There was some hard work that went in to what Nehemiah was doing. So I put this to us. In any task that we're in, any task, there's hard work. And if you don't know what the guidance is, then you move. You go with those two pieces. Listen to my prayer, this relationship here. Okay, you find out what God has to say in his word. You find out what God has to say in circumstance when you meet some weirdo in the, not him but me, in the coffee shop. Okay? You know, you see the circumstances around you. Do they reflect what God says? Do they reflect what God is saying? Do they reflect what God is doing? But in the same process, you move. There's an action involved in it. In Nehemiah's case, he worked sunrise to sunset, on guard all the time. So you listen, you cry out, you move. 2 pieces of guidance. And God makes a promise to us, and this is to the decimated people of Israel after all that stuff went down. He says in Zephaniah 2:4, I myself will be a wall of fire around Jerusalem, and I will be the glory inside the city. A wall of fire around them. Another version says, a wall of fire around them and a glory in their middle, in their midst. Now, that's pretty good protection in my book. If I wanted a wall, I think fire is a good wall. I like that wall, a burning wall fire. And if it's a God wall fire, I really like that wall. That's my kind of wall. I can deal without the rubble and the stones with that kind of wall. Now, but the second part of it is that part there, the glory in their middle. The glory in their middle. So there's this and there's this from God. A wall of fire around you and your glory in your middle. So I would say, what stage are your walls in? Where are you at? Is God, and I would say to you, not in a cocky way at all, because I have had lots of oppositions for different things. I don't know why this message was one of them. But God is interested in moving your life to the destiny He has for you. It's not simple. It's not canned. There's no formula or rule that will work. But it's good. It's promised. Will there be opposition? Yes. Will there be barriers? Many. But God is interested in tearing down those things that don't work to build those things that do work through your life and in your life. So, what's there that He's doing, or what's in the way? Are you in a place of turning? Are you in a place of rubble like me? You just can't even see because there's rubble all over the place. You can't see what God's doing from what you understood. Fear, doubt, opposition. Are you waiting? You know something's there. You're waiting. Are you planning? Nehemiah had a plan, and he adjusted that plan. Are you battling?